Dan Goldman was not prepared for what was coming his way. Check it out.
You have no actual evidence of any politicization or weaponization.
In a House Judiciary Committee hearing, the New York representative thought he delivered irrefutable evidence until Russell Fry followed up with a series of clips that changed everything.
We sued the Trump administration over 100 times.
I sued Trump over 100 times and brought a case against the Trump Foundation and held him accountable.
That's why today we're covering it all, because we're not here to follow parties blindly. We're here for common sense. So if you're an independent thinker, hit the subscribe button and let's jump right into it.
To simply defend Donald Trump and perpetuate the absolute whitewashing that the Republicans have doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on in fealty to Donald Trump, that somehow these were political prosecutions and investigations. And the only evidence of that is that the defendant said it. That's all you have. You have no actual evidence of any politicization or weaponization.
Well, Mr.
If you look,
Sir,
I reclaim my time. And all you are doing is trying to create a monarchy for Donald Trump. And that's what you have been doing by yielding all of your power to him for the last 6 weeks.
We'll get to the weaponization of the justice system in a bit. But first, let's address something important Goldman claimed. Are the Republicans really trying to establish a monarchy? The whole premise of this argument is that since Trump is relying heavily on executive orders to advance his agenda, it's a signal he's trying to undermine Congress. But that framing leaves out a crucial piece of context. Congress itself hasn't exactly been that functional in recent years. The legislature has become so gridlocked and hyper-partisan that it only seems to move when there's a massive spending bill or a crisis at stake. Beyond those headline-grabbing votes, very little meaningful work gets done. So, is Trump bypassing Congress or simply acting in the void it left behind? That's where the real discussion should be. Going back to the hearings, Russell Fry stepped in and played a clip that debunked most of what Goldman said.
I think it was discussed earlier that this was not about politics and that people campaigning for district attorneys were not campaigning on going after the former president, now current president. But that, of course, is belied by the evidence, and I think we have a video to show just that.
Whoever has this job, are they going to convict Donald Trump?
Look, that is the number one issue. I'm the candidate in the race who has the experience with Donald Trump. We sued the Trump administration over 100 times.
I sued Trump over 100 times and brought a case against the Trump Foundation and held him accountable.
Holding Trump accountable for the Trump Foundation.
From exposing illegal behavior by the Trump Foundation.
I do have a lot of experience with the former president. I led the New York State Attorney General's work and investigation and successful litigation against him and his family for their misconduct with the Trump Foundation. And also we had a number of litigations, more than 100, involving the Trump administration.
Now that's Alvin Bragg during his campaign for Manhattan District Attorney, when he sued the Trump administration more than 100 times. His entire pitch to voters was essentially, "Orange man bad, and I'll go after him." Which raises a fair question. Is that your entire platform? Do you actually have anything else to offer? Alvin later became the face of the case that brought 34 felony counts against Trump in the hush money trial. Critics argue that if the defendant's name were anyone other than Donald Trump, those charges would have been misdemeanors at best. One Syracuse law professor summed it up best saying, quote, "The case requires peeling an onion containing multiple layers of legal doctrine leading nowhere." But Bragg didn't stop there. As in other interviews, he added some racial elements to the mix.
When I was at the Attorney General's office, I led our work on the Trump Foundation matter. I also led the team that did the Trump Foundation case, and I've seen him up front and seen the lawlessness that he can do. Started out as a civil rights lawyer, then became a federal prosecutor, ultimately was the #2 lawyer in the New York State Attorney General's office, leading the charge against the racist policies of the Trump administration. I believe we have to hold him accountable. I've litigated with him, and so I'm prepared to go where the facts take me once I see them and hold him accountable. Being a rich, old white man has allowed you to evade accountability in Manhattan. That includes Trump and his children, right? We held them accountable in the Trump Foundation case. My office did the Trump University case. So I've seen a pattern of lawlessness over 20 years. And so I'm inclined to believe all I see in the public domain and know that there's, and believe that there's a path forward there to make a case.
What does someone's skin color have to do with whether they committed a crime? Absolutely nothing. Yet that's modern Democrats in a nutshell. Their entire platform is based on going after one man with a mix of identity politics. And when it comes to the judicial system, it's clearly being misused by both parties. One clear example is the rise of nationwide injunctions. Republicans and Democrats alike have leaned on them to halt policies they oppose, whether it's immigration orders or healthcare regulations. While effective politically, these tactics undermine the credibility of the courts. Instead of appearing impartial, the justice system begins to look like just another tool in the partisan toolbox. And that's a dangerous precedent for any democracy. After showcasing these clips, Fry followed up with his take, explaining just how off track this entire debate has become.
So I think we go back to the basic premise of the bill, is that you have a prosecutor in New York who's not worried about crime in New York, Manhattan. He is worried about going after the former president of the United States. Why? Because it earns him political points in a jurisdiction that did not vote for Donald Trump. And so to sit here today and say that this has not been about politics, this is about fairness in the system, it's total BS to believe that that is actually the case, because he said it a million times on television. He campaigned on it, and that is the purpose. One of the huge purposes of this bill is to remove that from a fairness perspective, that a jury in a federal system, that a different system that is not rigged in a state court can go and have a fair trial. The presumption of innocence is on a criminal defendant, and if we do this for ambassadors, if we do this for sitting presidents right now, why would we not extend that to somebody when they are targeting a former president or vice president?
In this hearing, the committee was debating several major legal resolutions, one of which was H.R. 1789, which amends Title 28 of the U.S. Code to shield current and former presidents, along with senior executive officials from certain legal actions. That's why Fry played these clips to prove the justice system was being abused to go after political rivals. Although that's a fair point, and we've seen the effect of it over the last 4 years, there's another side to this debate. Granting unprecedented immunity to top officials creates its own set of risks. It could effectively place presidents and senior leaders above the law, opening the door for unchecked abuses of power. And that's where the real dilemma is. How do you prevent the justice system from being politicized without stripping away accountability altogether? Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, keep on thinking.